Board ready? Okay. Good morning and welcome. This calls to order the September 24th, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning. Supervisor Cerna?
Here.
Peters? Frost?
Here.
Natoli? Here. Kennedy?
Here.
You have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on the Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and is webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, September 27th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting is also broadcast live on KUBU Radio on 96.5 FM. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may fill out a speaker slip and hand it to staff. When the chair calls your name, please come to the podium. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices.
Thank you, and would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For your consent matters, items 1 through 41. Item number 13, I have a request to continue to October 8th. Introduce ordinance amending Sacramento County Code Chapter 6.99.265, Title 6, relating to limited service charitable feeding operations and adding food bank fee ordinance.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote. Item number 20, you are introducing ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 2.90, Sections 2.90.400 through 2.90.440 of the Sacramento County Code relating to the Home Detention Program and Pretrial Release Supervision Program. You are waiving full reading and continuing to October 8th, 2019 for adoption. Acting as your Sacramento County Water Agency, item number 36, I've received a request to continue to October 8th, is the approval of water supply assessment for California North State University Medical Center in the city of Elk Grove.
So moved. Continue. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote. And this concludes the clerk's notes.
Okay, we will. I'm gonna have item 5 heard after we vote on the balance of the consent calendar. Is there a motion, or are there any comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Peters.
So let the clerk have the record show that I'm recusing from item 27 due to potential conflict of interest.
Sure. Mr. Natoli.
Yeah, if I could just speak to item 23, please.
Item 23, authorization to execute the Second Amendment to the Revenue Agreement with Data Ticket, Inc. for parking citation processing services and software, thereby extending the term of the agreement on a month-to-month basis to June 30th, 2020.
Okay. My comment is, and thank you for the quick follow-up. In my briefing yesterday, I asked the status of the legislation that was called out as being the basis for the uncertainty. Sounds like all those bills excuse me, are not moving forward this year. I certainly support the extension, but I think that was used as the reason for doing this bridge over. And now that legislation doesn't mean it may not be resurrected next year, but it relates to parking penalties and renewal registrations and so forth. So it says in the staff report, which I assume was written before the legislature adjourned for this session, said the unknown impacts of these pending assembly bills creates an environment of uncertainty. I think that uncertainty now certainly goes away for this year. So I don't know how that affects the actual staff report that was presented to us today, and certainly may not affect the recommendation to extend to next year. But there is a process we're actually going out for a new RFP, if I understand it correctly. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So will there be any amendment to or some adjustment of the process? Because now that legislation, there is certainty around this legislation and the actual processing of those parking citations. So
we'll continue to process the citations, and we will monitor the legislation again next year if there's new bills that come in, and what kind of impact that will have on this.
Okay, I guess my question is, Mr. Gill, is the timeliness then of going out for a new agreement, because this talks about amending this current agreement to allow for a month-to-month. That's what we're going to be doing up until June of next year. It would seem to me that there's no reason to delay going forward with the process that apparently has been at least embarked upon that would, bring a new full-term contract to this board.
That is my understanding, that we're not going to delay it.
Okay, all right.
But if there's something that comes up through the legislation that starts making changes,
Yeah.
that's something we'll deal when that happens.
Because you're always going to have uncertainty, that's the world we live in as it relates to legislation, and I think it was a valid point here, but that point no longer is the point of reason for actually continue for any indefinite period of time. So.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move consent calendar,
Okay, second, so we'll move all but 5.
except for 5, yes.
Yes. Please vote.
Unanimous vote. Let the record reflect that Supervisor Peters is recusing from item number 27. Item number 5, acting as your Board of Supervisors and Sacramento County Water Agency, approval of recommended fiscal year 2019-20 adopted budget resolutions, approval of fiscal year 2019-20 appropriation limits, authorization for the county executive to execute agreements with Law Enforcement Chaplaincy, Sacramento Wildlife Care Association.
Okay, I pulled this item just because we have a number of speaker slips, so we'll go right into public comment if that's okay with the board. Okay. Nikki Jones. And Nikki will be followed by Courtney Hanson.
There's a word in the global economy for this kind of budget and the budgets that we've been promised in the coming years. It's called austerity. It's a stripping down of public services and safety nets and forcing people to live with the consequences of those decisions. We see over time, and we've learned that poverty is a policy choice, that there are, in a very, very rich country, in an economy that for some has been flourishing and for others has been devastating. What we really see, instead of kind of a reinfusion of that capital into human capacity to live better, we see that capital stockpiled, and we see income inequality kind of take hold, and then we call it economic revitalization. And that's super problematic because it leaves so many of us out. And so when we talk about the stripping down of public services and the kinds of things that our communities need, the libraries, mental health services, goodness, we are 100 to 200 inpatient beds short here in our county services. Why aren't we funding that? Why are we expanding the jail? Why is there a new tower going in across the street? It's truly an abomination. And so what we see when we see austerity policies, because they're not new, so they've been filtering out throughout the nations of the world, and what we see is that people suffer in mass quantities, and then what public municipalities do to handle that suffering is to engage in widespread criminalization of the poor, to engage in public control of the unrest that begins to happen when people begin to not have what they need. And maybe this starts small, especially in a cushioned community like our own, but we're not cushioned. There are thousands of people in Sacramento who sleep no cushion on the ground every night. And so we're not waiting for a rainy day. The rainy day is here, and we need a budget that reflects our values, not a budget that is here for long-term incarceration and criminalization of the people that we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Courtney Hanson. Courtney will be followed by Mackenzie Wilson.
Good morning. Nice to see you all again. So my name's Courtney. I'm I've grown up here in Sacramento, and as you probably know, we're here because we're deeply concerned about this budget. And I'm just want to let you know that this group actually literally formed because some of us were losing sleep after seeing the Sacramento Bee headline that every single department would be facing cuts with no end in sight, other than corrections in the sheriff's budget, which there seems to be endless amounts of money for. And budgets aren't just about money, they're about morals. So this budget really lays out what your priorities are. At this point, I hope you could at least stand by them and admit that these are decisions. They are not inevitable things unfolding, they're decisions. And so for folks who need more context, we're here because there's currently an $89 million expansion plan of our RCCC jail in Elk Grove. On top of that, as a separate incident, there was recently a horrific class action lawsuit on the main jail conditions because things were happening like keeping people in solitary confinement for 8 years pre-trial before they've been convicted of anything, which 60 to 75% of the people sitting in this facility have not been convicted of anything. And then that class action lawsuit recommends one thing very, very strongly, which we're not talking enough about, which is reducing the jail population. The class action lawsuit recommends that you reduce the jail population, which is possible. And we were really interested to learn that meeting some of the other requirements of the lawsuit, like ADA accessibility, might cause a loss of 30% capacity to hold people in the jail. We see that as a serious opportunity to decrease the jail population by 30%, to do what the class action lawsuit recommends to meet people's basic human rights and constitutional rights while they're in there and move toward decarceration. So you can fund a future that gives kids seats in classrooms, or you can fund a future that gives them space in a cell. You can't do both. One prohibits the other.
Can you wrap up, Courtney?
So what do you want your legacy to be? That's what we're here to truly ask you to think about. We're losing sleep over this. Are you losing any sleep over this?
Thank you, Courtney. Kenzie Wilson, followed by Melinda McCracken.
This is one of your last chances to stop the further incarceration of our neighbors as it pertains to the new dark tower that you're trying to build, in addition to the sponge across the street. $8 million could be and should be better spent. I don't know how to drive home for you the fact that Sacramento doesn't want it. As an organizer, it's my job to have conversations with our neighbors, and as a person who also wants to dismantle white supremacy and sexist, racist institutions, it's my job to prioritize and listen to impacted voices. It's something that I feel you guys are not doing. That none of these policies that I'm seeing you guys pass are working towards a cooperative society that is one that's going to benefit all of us. Our county is cutting services and expanding jails. I know that what I know is that incarceration is not a path towards changing these institutions, these racist, white supremacist, sexist institutions. These institutions are in fact founded in racism, sexism, and all of that. So it's unfortunate that we're having this conversation today because we know these things. We can't argue them anymore. These very things were founded by these things. We cannot Band-Aid it away. It's not something that we can just decide, hey, we're gonna take the racism out of this. It doesn't work. We have to dismantle it. What I also know is that if things are not accessible, then it is neither radical nor revolutionary. Yet for some reason, what I'm seeing is you guys taking access to programs away from people who need them the most. So what does that say about this city, this county, that we are not working towards a path of liberation? Sacramento does not want an $89 million expansion. We do not want $8 million spent on a dark tower. If my friends will go ahead and raise their signs up. We spoke to a lot of people in this community for the last couple months, and these were the things that were in common amongst all of these folks. This is what Sacramento wants. And I hope that you guys will align your policies to match that.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Melinda McCracken. And Melinda will be followed by Lynn Berkeley Baskin. Is Melinda here? Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Morning.
Today I'd like to talk about the court's findings in the lawsuit that led to your decision to expand the jails. That's not what they recommended, is it? They recommended, actually, that you reduce the jail population. I haven't heard any of you yet explain your choice to just disregard the court's findings. I wonder if you have anything, any public statement, anything written, because you must have discussed the possibility of doing what they said. I mean, I would think. You must have, did you talk about what you could do to get mentally ill inmates out? Did you possibly discuss that you could, instead of expanding the jail, expand in patient hospitalization facilities? That seems like a perfect way to cut the population by about half, and you don't even have to do a study, because I know you don't like to do studies. But Contra Costa County has already done it. They've already started. They even have a blueprint. Follow theirs. They've reduced their jail population to 1/3 of ours. Another way you could cut it is, instead of spending $100 million on jails, spend some of that on increasing the permanent housing and services for homeless people. How about that? And then just stop putting them in jail. Then you don't need to expand. Spend that $100 million doing some public good instead of making the sheriff happy. Because all you're doing is destabilizing our communities by continuing to incarcerate people. I talked to you about this before. Our families are being ripped apart. Our communities are unsafe, because desperate people do desperate things. And the desperation is caused by being in jail and then having no job to go back to. Your family's been taken away from you. Your children are in social services now.
Melinda, can you wrap up, please? Thank you.
So what I'm saying is, rethink this. Have a heart. Think about what you're doing. Have some concern for the benefit of the public good.
Thank you, Melinda. Lynn Berkeley Baskin, please. Now, followed by Ava Nadal.
Supervisors, thank you for considering our testimony today. I serve on many boards and committees and am very involved with community and public health as an advocate. My hope is that you are all intellectual enough and humble enough to truly hear the evidence and public outcry before you. For decades, physicians took an approach to pain that seemed the easier and less costly on the surface. But experts predicted the outcome, and the powers that ignored the evidence. Now we have an opioid epidemic costing taxpayers billions of dollars. It was preventable. I'm paraphrasing from the Pew Research report about collateral damage of incarceration. The price of incarceration and budgets represents just a fraction of the overall cost of incarcerating such a large segment of our society. The collateral consequences are tremendous and far-reaching and include substantial and lifelong damage. The Center for American Progress explains that the damage of incarceration on our communities lasts for at least 2 generations, and that half of our children are directly impacted by a parent who has been incarcerated. The research of Dr. Barkow of NYU, this is her book, I strongly recommend you use it, explains that using electeds to set budgets is problematic because they vote with their emotional response based in tradition rather than in data. Supervisors, focusing the largest percentage of the budget on policing people and incarcerating them will continue to lead to more homelessness, more trauma in families, more public need for basic necessities, and increased crime. This budget is backwards. Increase the public defender's budget, increase services for people re-entering our community, increase services for their families and children. The outcome is foreseeable by those of us who know the data. At the very least, please delay this vote and do your homework. Have the courage to change the course of community health, public safety, and economics in our region. Have that courage, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Ava Nadal, followed by Adam Jordan, I believe Adam Jordan, yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
Not happy to be here. I felt last night with my dog, so I'm in pain. I'm in pain every day. I'm disabled. But I'm able to do all things in Christ who strengthens me, Mr. Kennedy, Council. Sad to be here today because I have a son that's 38 years old. He's a two-strike felon.
Can you pull the second mic down? Thank you.
He was pipelined to prison.
Speak in between, then we can hear you.
13 years old. He was charged with a strong armed robbery with a Harvey waiver for a crime he didn't commit. No, my mother was a security for Elk Grove School District. Yes, I've sung at 9 gang funerals. That's what I do. Death and dying and grieving mothers all throughout Sacramento. I know every mother who's had a child killed by gun violence. 3 weeks ago, my son was arrested for kidnapping my granddaughter, who he has 70% custody of. He's a two-strike felon. The U.S. Marshals, SWAT team, yeah, they arrested my child. He almost lost his job, but he's at work right now. I'm fighting a custody battle for a 13-year-old grandchild who's traumatized by your system. Pipeline to prison is real. I'm part of the Village Advocates of Sacramento and Black Leadership Youth Program. You know, I'm also an ex-state rape of ACE. Also, Center for Popular Democracy National Director. It is a shame that you guys would rather spend $89 million to build and expand the jail when we have homeless people. On May 1st, when that homeless camp was set down, McKenzie was arrested, LB was arrested, that woman's arm was broken. That was not necessary. I had an interview that day. So when I came back out there, Mr. Kennedy, I was saddened at the fact that my neighbors, because I lived down the street, I lost 3 homes in Elk Grove. My husband had brain surgery too. So when I see the damage affected my family, my son was locked up with $1 million bill in that 651 I Street. I was charged with lynching years ago. Who did I lynch? I was in a car accident. I was thrown to the ground after a car accident. I have spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, carpal tunnel, tendonitis sciatica in both my legs. But I had the courage to get up and come to tell you guys should be ashamed of yourself. Because what's happening in this community in Sacramento, we're the state capital of California. How dare you guys want to build a jail? We have all these people out here laying on the grounds coming to my neighborhood, terrorizing me. We got pimps. I saw 5 sheriff cars watching the little girls get pushed out of a car, yelling Stockton and 65th. I watch it every day. They're 13 and 14 sex slaves, sex crime. Why are we the damn head, all that? But we want to build a jail, really? We got the suicide rate between 5 and 11 years old doubled last year.
Can you wrap up, Ava?
5 years old to 11. Could you imagine your child being on the ground tonight? Or getting out of a car to go to school hungry? I know a 5-year-old that was spending 7 times. He was hungry, getting out of a car. You better do something. Our kids are getting suicide.
Thank you, Ava. Adam Jordan, followed by Connor.
Okay. I'm Adam Jordan. I'm part of the Anti-Police Terror Project. I'm here with the Decarcerate Sacramento. And I want to get into the numbers instead of the emotion of the thing. It costs $82,000 a year to incarcerate somebody. So when you criminalize mental health, instead of helping mental health patients and increasing mental health capacity in the county, it only costs $25,000 to $30,000 a year to deal with a mental health patient. You would save $50,000 a year. I'm talking to the fiscal conservatives. I'm talking to the Republicans right now. $50,000 a year. So if you have 10,000 mental health calls in the county, at a 60% arrest rate. That's 6,000 times $82,000 a year. Instead of building mental health capacity, increasing mental health beds, and giving the ability for people and patients to have to be able to have healing. And I know this is a weird word for you in here, healing, right? Because increasing prisons is not healing. Sheriffs don't want to be mental health workers. When there's a 40-hour program, a CIT, critical intervention training, that they only do 8 hours of, that shows they don't want to be mental health workers. They don't want to be mental health prison guards. And if you save $50,000 a year, even the staunchest fiscal conservative would go, well, maybe we should, take some money and put it somewhere else, like education. If you want to decrease prisons, have the rate of graduation go up, and exponentially you will be able to, the crime will go down because people have enough knowledge to do something besides be criminal. Because it's not an ethnic thing for crime, it's a poor thing. Poor people commit crimes because they're desperate. Mentally ill people commit crimes because they're desperate. They don't have help. And if you help the people instead of incarcerate people, all of a sudden you have a better place to live in for everyone. Where people like us don't have to come yell at people like you. And you won't even look, if you actually did the job to represent all the people. Can you wrap
up, Adam?
Sure. I'll wrap up in like 4 seconds. I think you see where I'm getting at.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Connor, and after Connor will be LaMills Garrett.
So I'm Connor. I want to start with something that you've probably heard before, because I've heard this in a lot of meetings like this from a lot of commentators, which is that budgets are a statement of values. And you've heard this from previous speakers even today, that you should be prioritizing the needs of the people over what the sheriff wants and over things that directly harm the people. So you need to put funding into various services rather than in policing and incarceration. So furthermore, we know that when infrastructure is built, people often feel like it should be used. So if you increase infrastructure for policing and incarceration, there's a good chance that those things will be increased because the police department feels like they should use them. Instead, we should be decreasing those things and working toward restructuring the system in a way that prioritizes people overall rather than locking them up and harming them in various ways. So we should be reprioritizing where this funding goes, and in fact, not only should you not be expanding the jail, but you should be trying to reduce the amount of resources that go into the jail and into policing. So if the capacity is decreased by 30%, that is a good thing, because you should use that to put in place policies that drastically reduce the population in prison by increasing services and by abolishing bail and letting people out when they have not been convicted, and various other things that you could do very quickly and very directly in order to start moving us in a better direction.
Thank you. LaMills Garrett, followed by Parker Evans. Morning.
Morning. Who do you expect to occupy and expand in jail? Who? Think about faces, think about communities, think about families. It is without question through research that those who are lacking food, those who are lacking education, those who are lacking health care and those who are actually lacking shelter are likely to be the very people that you will be putting into this facility. However, at a cost far more than what you actually incur today. The reality is you're creating a problem that is long going. Instead of looking at solutions for addressing the education scenario of community programs, increasing big brothers, big sisters, doing whatever necessary to actually provide mentors for those who are actually in the situation of not having those resources today. For healthcare, mental health care, the many people that you have in there, you're actually losing approximately $50,000 per person per year that's within your prison system that should be in a mental health facility. Those are dollars that you're actually wasting that you can be doing other things with. In terms of housing, there are so many solutions available. There's so much land available in Sacramento County. And frankly, let's look at your friend who are developers. Have developers build low-income housing. Give them resources to actually do that versus putting people in prisons. Give them the opportunity to use lands that are above railroad tracks to actually build upward and allow low-income housing for people to live there and for you to build retail projects, projects that are actually serving retail, business, industrial, as well as housing. There's so many opportunities available versus hurting the public more by actually putting people in jail. There is no good thing that comes out of most situations of incarcerating a human being. Nothing in our system. What we do is we create systems that will actually repeat that will bring it back over and over again. What do you think happens to the children of the incarcerated? They are very likely to be incarcerated. They are very likely to be outside of the education system. This is, as has been said before, a decision of where your values are. And you get to speak to that. Desperate people do desperate things. You have options to help them not do those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Parker Evans? Parker Evans? Item 44. Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. Finally then is Hassan.
It is impossible to sit up there and be ignorant about the conditions taking place in your own jail. It is impossible to sit up there and be unaware of the research, the data, and the testimonies of people harmed by the prison system. It's impossible to sit up there and not know that prisons increase crime and cause more harm in our communities, and resources and public services are better ways to reduce this harm. The way I see it, there are only two ways that you can sit up there and be okay with this jail expansion. At best, it's ignorance. But we know you're not ignorant, so let's call it willful ignorance. At worst, it's malice. Malice towards the poor, malice towards the mentally ill, malice towards the homeless, and malice towards all the disadvantaged communities that you're responsible for looking after. This is how we are looking at you today. We know you're not ignorant. We know you know what's going on. And we know that you know the right thing to do is to not go forward with this jail expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that is the last card I have for public comment. I do have some members of the board who have punched in. Supervisor Natoli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The actual discussion about the project itself, the additional facilities and expansion as has been termed here for RCCC is actually coming to us October 24th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I guess, Mr. Gill, I guess I would just offer that as a part of that, obviously we've heard from folks here today and certainly in hearings over the past several months, and that will be a decision point to the point was made by one of the speakers earlier relative to that project is coming to us in a general services context, but I guess what I would offer, and I think would be helpful, is to maybe broaden the discussion beyond just that agenda item, at least in the sense that the commentary that we've heard today from folks that obviously speaks on behalf of a number of people in our community, is to, as we're looking at that particular project and the 25 beds and some of the other facility improvements or additions that are included as part of that, to have some understanding, at least in the context of the presentation, about what it means relative to the ongoing staffing. We've had discussions in these chambers over the past several years regarding ongoing costs for staffing that facility. And I think to the point about the consent decree, that RCCC was not tied to the consent decree. And so what it means relative to what else is being anticipated with either the downtown facility and or at RCCC. And so I guess I would just ask that, we've heard about, mental health issues more broadly in the community, but certainly as it relates to folks who either are pretrial or have been sentenced to now what is county jail prison. And I guess without getting too far beyond the scope of what will be before us on the 24th of October, I think it would be helpful to have some of that in the context so we get have some understanding that, one, if we choose not to proceed with that project, but also then, what it would either free up in future budgets and or allow for service delivery in a different context, either the main jail, but also at RCCC. So if we could have some of that as background, Nav, I think it would be helpful, particularly in light of the community response we're receiving on that particular item.
Will do.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you. So to dovetail a bit off of Supervisor Natoli's comments, I'd like to suggest that, because again, there have been a number of comments issued here and concerns expressed here and during our final budget deliberations about the county's intent or not to explore how best to reduce jail population. And I'd like to suggest, either as part of the discussion on the 24th, perhaps as a separate standalone informational item for the public in these chambers, that we have a presentation on kind of the totality, the comprehensive effort that the county is pursuing to reduce jail population, because I think there is some confusion, quite frankly, out there about what it is that we're trying to do in light of Prop 10 and other things, some of the initiatives that the courts are pursuing. And I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have kind of a holistic discussion about that. Again, it's mostly for the benefit of those that have expressed the concern about that part of the equation. I think it would be helpful if we did something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then secondly, this is a procedural matter. I need to make sure that, because we do have an item before us, item 5 here, that my disposition on this matter is consistent with my disposition as it was expressed on final budget, that I'm not supporting the sheriff's budget. I issued a protest no vote then. So I'd like the record to reflect that that should be consistent with the action being taken with regard to item 5.
Okay, any other board members? I will just say, Mr. First of all, I agree with Supervisor Cerna, and I think that should even be a separate line item in the agenda.
Correct.
Right, so I thank you very much, Supervisor Cerna. The one thing that I will say, and I'll ask Mr. Gill and I have had this conversation before, and as the chaplaincy is on the agenda here and we are providing funding for it, that the message be sent that, first of all, the work that the chaplaincy does is incredibly important and valuable and helpful. There was a multiple homicide in the district I represent, and the way that they took care of the bereavement process was really, really invaluable to the community. That being said, there have been a number of very politicized comments to come out of the chaplaincy, and I would like the county executive to send the message that it's not a political organization, and it's certainly not a partisan organization, and that they should be very careful about the statements they make in public that are over-politicized.
Got it. Understood.
Thank you.
Good comments.
Okay, with that, is there a motion on item number 5? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote, and let the record reflect Supervisor Cerna is voting no on the sheriff's budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here, for your words, and also for your civility and decorum. It's much appreciated.
Item number 42, presentation of resolution proclaiming October 2019 as Sacramento County Employee Giving Campaign Month.
Thank you, Board. I have very little to say because I'm going to actually hand the microphone off to someone who has more to say and probably more intelligent. But I do want to say, just on behalf of the Board, to all of our employees, that you continue to impress, you continue to transcend any boundaries that there are in your generosity, your giving, and the commitment that you have to our community. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, to all of our employees, I want to thank you and express the Board's appreciation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Seal.
Thank you very much, Lee Seal, Chief Probation Officer, on behalf of our department and really on behalf of the county today. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to accept this resolution on behalf of the board. I want to thank each and every one of the board members who, by your own personal example, set a commitment to giving in our communities. You're out there, I know you're dipping into your own pockets, you're writing checks, you're out there on the weekends supporting causes, really giving with your own time and energy to things that you believe in and care deeply about. That sets a tremendous example for all of us in the county, from department leaders like myself, but all of the employees and throughout the citizenry of this county. October kicks off the Employee Giving Campaign. We're excited. I have the pleasure of chairing it this year. We've got a great team. I want to acknowledge really all the departments who are working together to make this a successful event. It kicks off in just a few days on October 1. We're excited about that. We've got a big goal of $400,000 that we're aiming towards this year. We want to put that into the pockets of deserving entities out there who really benefit from all the support. All of our events are sold out. We've got a golf tournament. We've got a 5K. I'm going to be out there. I will not miss the opportunity to throw down the challenge, whether it means playing golf on, I think, October 10th or running a 5K on October 24th. I hope to see everyone out there. Again, thank you for this resolution, and we look forward to making this a successful event this year.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, and I'm afraid that October 24th is not nearly enough time for me to get ready, so you enjoy that 5K. Next item, please.
Acting as the Board of Supervisors and Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento, item number 43, Pacific Rim Apartments Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act hearing, approval of tax exempt bonds and loan commitment.
Good morning. I'm Susan Veazey, Program Manager in the Development Department at the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. The report before you requests approval of a mortgage revenue bond and a $2.4 million loan commitment of Federal Home Investment Partnerships Program funds for the acquisition and rehabilitation of Pacific Rim Apartments. Pacific Rim is located at 6620 Sunny Slope Drive in Sacramento County. The property was built in 2005 and consists of 32 three-bedroom units. The project will be rehabilitated by Alliance Property Group, Inc., and the units will be regulated at 50% and 60% of area median income and will continue to be monitored and regulated by SHRA for 55 years. Improvements will include exterior and interior work such as new kitchens and baths, flooring and paint, new HVAC and landscaping. A new community room and laundry room will be constructed. The project will be managed by FPI Management Group. A minimum of 7 hours per week of on-site resident services will be provided by All Things Are Possible. Resident services will include after-school education and enrichment programs. In closing, staff recommends approving the loan commitment and issuance of mortgage revenue bonds for the rehabilitation of Pacific Rim Apartments. And Danielle Bennett from Alliance Property Group is here, and staff, we are all available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Supervisor Natoli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan, just a couple of questions then about the improvements. Obviously, the complex, as you noted, was built not even 15 years ago.
Correct.
And, we're doing a major rehab of it. Certainly, I know this is in Supervisor Kennedy's district, but I'm familiar with the project and certainly the area. I guess a couple of questions then. One, as it relates to the re-roofing of the property, and we talk about asphalt composition, roof shingles, but I think we've had previous discussions about the roofing materials because oftentimes we've seen over the years that water intrusion, either through faulty roofs and or siding in some cases, has caused major damage in these multiplex complexes. And so what is the detail behind that? Are you getting a 25 or 40-year roof? You can get composition shingles that will give you a 15-year life, and depending upon their exposure and so forth, you don't even get that out of them. So I guess I'm curious because in the past we've talked about using either lightweight tile or some other material that has a certainly a certifiable life beyond what may be offered by manufacturers, and so I guess I'm curious about that.
Sure, and actually prepared to answer this question because I thought you might ask.
I guess you've been here before, huh?
In our scope of work, which is a requirement, will be integrated into the loan agreement and is in part of the commitment. It will be a roof overlay with a cool roof shingle over the existing roof, and it will, on both of the buildings, and they will have a minimum of 20-year warranty, and they are asphalt composition shingles.
Okay, so it's not a tear off. It's actually it's a
right. It's an overlay.
This is the first re-roof, and so okay, so you're able to use.
And it'll be a cool roof, so that should be valuable as well.
Okay, the services then are provided by All Things Are Possible. Is that the nonprofit that's going to provide the after-school programming?
Correct. Yeah. And this property, when it was originally constructed, it had a single owner for two separate developments, and then over time there was a change in ownership, and so Pacific Rim itself has not had any resident services, any location for resident services, because all of the community space was in the other building. And so the real big benefit, I think, to the residents of this project will be that new community room and laundry room, and so there will be space for the resident
So people don't have to
services.
go across the street.
Correct. It'll
because
be
these properties
integrated.
were tied. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I know we put quite a bit of money into the property across the street. In fact, twice since I've been on this board have we put money into
Yeah.
that particular property. So.
In addition, there were a couple that they will also be providing covered parking, which had been in the initial requirement for the original build and never got constructed, and so those will be constructed with this financing.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So I missed.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I have no cards on this. I will say that thank you very much, SHRA. I sincerely appreciate the work done here. It's going to be a great project, great addition to District 2, so thank you. With that, I will move staff recommendation.
Second.
Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Next item.
Item number 44, approval of updated multifamily lending and mortgage revenue bond policies.
Good morning again. I'm Susan Veazey.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So today we are requesting your approval of our revised multifamily lending and mortgage revenue bond policies. These policies were last adopted in 2009, and given some changes in the affordable housing lending environment, including the loss of redevelopment and tightening of home program regulations, we believe it is time to approve an updated version. The purpose of these lending policies is to provide our development partners with a clear understanding of SHRA's underwriting standards. Such clarity is critical for developers who often invest thousands of dollars to put an affordable housing deal together before the sticks go into the ground. The policies also provide a roadmap for SHRA staff tasked with assessing project feasibility. Funding sources covered by these policies include CDBG funds committed to multifamily housing, home funds, local housing trust funds, and your local housing, affordable housing funds. We also employ these underwriting standards when working with the county on the No Place Like Home program. Were SHRA to administer the new state funding brought about by SB 2, known as the Permanent Local Housing Allocation, these policies would govern the deployment of those resources as well. For your awareness, we began the process of updating these policies in 2017 and have held 4 stakeholder-specific workshops, 2 workshops in front of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Commission, a workshop in front of the County Board of Supervisors and City Council. We produced 3 public comment drafts, and the final version in front of you this morning incorporates feedback from a multitude of partners, including City Council, Board of Supervisors, Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Commissioners, the Sacramento Housing Alliance, and affordable housing developers such as Jamboree, Mutual, and USA Properties. Attachment 1 to your staff report lays out some of the key changes. We are recommending a change in funding priorities to move new production above recapitalization of existing affordable housing. And after the board workshop here in April, we revised the new construction population priority list to be first, homeless households and permanent supportive housing, second, veterans, third, workforce. Permanent supportive housing projects that include veterans will receive a higher priority for funding. With the changes in inclusionary zoning programs, we have removed inclusionary housing as its own category. Preservation, specifically the need to fund the acquisition and rehabilitation of affordable housing that would convert to market rate without government subsidy, remains the #1 priority. An example of this would be Sutter Place, which had an expiring HUD subsidy contract that the owner was not willing to renew and was sold to a nonprofit developer to rehab and ensure the long-term continued affordability. We have reduced our monitoring fee for issuing mortgage revenue bonds to bring SHRA's fee more in line with other local government bond issuers within the state. And we will begin requiring 5% of units within a development to be targeted at extremely low-income households. Other significant changes include adoption of an affirmative marketing policy and requiring properties to be 100% smoke-free. We have included some clarifying language regarding CalHFA's ability to issue bonds in our jurisdiction. As a state entity, they do not need a local government hearing to issue bonds, and our policies outline what steps are required if the city or county housing authority is issuing bonds or holding the public hearing. Staff also proposed language designed to ensure an unbiased process during underwriting. We indicate the developers should work with SHRA staff to resolve differences prior to contacting members of SHRA's governing bodies. This has been a long journey involving many voices, all of whom share the common goal of maximizing SHRA's impact despite limited resources. Staff believe the document you have in front of you this morning will benefit our partners and our community, and we would appreciate your support, and we are available to address any questions you may have.
Supervisor Natoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan, just again, there was quite a bit of text here and revisions, obviously updating 10 years have passed, and so a number of things that relate to finance and to management. I guess I just wanted to go to starting on page 19 of the strikeout version, and then page 20, and it kind of rolls over to page 21 as well. And this goes to the determinations, and this is an update, obviously, and I think as it relates to community space, resident services, playgrounds, and so forth on these bond projects. And we use the, I guess, threshold, for lack of a better word, of 50 or more units as being the trigger for example, some playground equipment for age-appropriate play structure. And I guess I'm curious about that. And just the previous item was a 32-unit complex, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or what we just talked about in the previous item. So, so.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and again, I'm not using that as the backdrop, but I just say that. So 50 is an easy number. It's rounded, a rounded number and so forth. And then there's a subsequent trigger or threshold at 100 that requires an additional. But I think, when we're looking at multifamily and families, particularly those with children, we talk about resident services, I guess I would like to see more flexibility built in. You want certainty for the developers, but I'm not so sure that 50 is the right number. I mean, maybe a number we've used, but maybe it's 40 units. Maybe for a complex of 32 that has 3-bedroom units that have a lot of families. Now, if you're reserved the ability to make that call, certainly within the confines of this policy, then I guess I'm comfortable with that. If not, I'd like to provide some more flexibility, particularly as it relates to those resident services, the quality of not only the housing that's provided, but then those things that I think have, provide us the ability to really offer people, a more full range, but certainly a better living environment, not just from the standpoint of their individual units, but also those things that are in the community, in that multifamily community. And so I guess I would just turn to you and anybody else. But so we use 50, but is there language that we could insert that would give either SHRA, executive director and or staff, and or maybe a lower threshold, at least for looking at that? Obviously, it's a financial feasibility of project and, the ongoing maintenance. But it seems to me, whether you've got 12 families living in a complex or 48 families or 200 families and or individuals, that some of those amenities are important baselines for projects of any size. And so recognizing there are some limitations as you get into smaller numbers of units. And so I guess I see Lachelle coming to the microphone. I'd like to see that we, as we're looking to the future, because we're looking at long-term sustainability of projects, we're looking at long-term viability, but also the quality of life for whatever generation is living there now, but for ones that would follow behind. And so particularly with children and seniors in some cases, but for families. So that's my question.
Okay, Lachelle Dozier,
Hi,
Executive Director. Hi. In fact, we can build in some flexibility. Usually the constraints are about space, as well as looking at the number of children who'll be in the complex, but we could build in some flexibility that allows us, anytime it's below 50 units, to really make an exception, and wherever possible, include that type of playground equipment. Especially, like you said, if there are large bedrooms with a lot of children.
Yeah, it's different. If you have single units or studio units and you're looking to, engage into seniors or to individuals or, or couples, there are limitations obviously under other guidelines that, limit the number of folks per unit. But if we're building these family complexes, and again, then that may be one way that you utilize your space is you have less 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms, and you have more 3 bedrooms. But then it would seem to me you could still stay under 50, and then you don't get that amenity. I like the fact that you built in a minimum 1,200 square foot for your community room. I think irrespective of the project, if I'm not mistaken. To me, those are long-term quality of life for folks that would reside in those apartment complexes. So I don't know what sort of language change. I don't want to hold this up. I know this has been under a lot of. Been reviewed by a lot of eyes, but it just occurred to me that those are important pieces. And if you're going to build it and finance it, let's build in some of those amenities from the get-go.
Okay. So. Yes, we can include that.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. Thanks.
Sister Tully, would you be comfortable then just approving this today with the understanding that staff will look at 4.16 and come up with something that gives greater flexibility?
Sure. I mean, that whole section of it may be incorporated to that, but no, I would be very comfortable with that. Like, okay. I'm not looking to hold this up. And again, it was, but before I made it an afterthought, I thought we ought to bring it up here today and have a discussion about it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about the fee reductions, which I'm not against the fee reductions, but I'm just curious as to the methodology that you used. What was the thinking behind that? A few I see went up, but marginally, $1,000 or less. But what brought you to this?
Sure. We did a study a couple of years ago when we were embarking on this update, where we received a list of all of the major bond issuers throughout the state of California, and then we had staff who interviewed and collected information to find out, where is SHRA relative to LA County, Anaheim, San Francisco.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussions here in this board room about the fees that the agency charges. So
right.
I can understand that you reviewed that.
Yes, and and so it was really kind of a deep dive into our peer jurisdictions, and so the methodology was really how do we continue to be able to provide the same level of service in terms of monitoring. As you know, we have staff who go out every year and touch all 200 or plus of our properties, and still be able to, be considered, within the peer group. And so that was really, I think, through that study, and then also sharing with our developer partners, they've had access to that potential change, in all 3 of our public comment drafts. Does that answer your question, Supervisor
Well, that's
Peters?
the why you looked at it, but
okay.
the methodology that you use, I'm just curious as, I just...
Are you talking about that table specifically?
Yeah, no, I have the table, but you reduced the percentage fee, and then you went to $100 flat per unit, and then you capped the administrative fee. So I guess the $100 per unit is what interested me.
Sure.
Is that because of inspections of more units?
So the $100, and this is something we found that was really typical with our peer jurisdiction, so we were lowering the overall rate. And then the $100 per unit relates to the number of SHRA specific funded units. So depending on the gap,
how many units in the apartment building were affordable?
And so, for example, if a project did not receive, it was only a bond issuance, and did not receive any additional loan subsidy, there would be no $100 per unit.
I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you. Certainly prepared to support the item. And the 2 comments/suggestions I have really are kind of ancillary to what we're considering, but obviously very related, and it really was part of the discussion I had during my briefing with SHRA staff. The first is I've become aware that the SB2 funding that we anticipate, and that I know other jurisdictions do as well, including the city of Sacramento, that it's my understanding that county staff are asking for more time, more meetings to do something. It's not clear what that something is, but my understanding is that the NOFA is staring right at us in terms of it being available here shortly, and then we have a window of time, I believe, to respond to that NOFA. I want to make sure that we're not going to unnecessarily tie our own hands by meeting to death over what to do about this new opportunity, and not be prepared to take advantage of every single hour, minute, and second that we have to prepare a response to the notice of funding availability for SB2. So I don't know if I see Mr. Leonard being prepared to speak to this, but I would like to suggest that we get this agendized. If there's board action that has to take place to initiate this in earnest, that we initiate this today with some direction to our executive team to bring it forthwith to this board as soon as possible. Again, if we're waiting on board action to start that process, if I'm misunderstanding, please correct me. But that's the first issue. Let me get the second issue out there before I get a response from staff. The second issue has to do with the fact that, again, per my conversation with SHRA staff, I was reminded yesterday that our housing trust fund, which is in part fed by a fee that is placed on commercial development. We have our inclusionary housing ordinance, and we have a fee that's leveled against new market rate housing, but we also have a commercial side to that, just as the city of Sacramento does. That fee is, I would argue, is low. Especially when you compare it to our largest city in the county. I believe it's more than $2 lower than what the city of Sacramento is charging on a square foot basis. And if I recall correctly, when this board last debated revisions to both the residential side of the inclusionary ordinance and then the commercial side, we decided that because we were trying to come out of a recession at the time, that we thought it might be wise to stay focused on the housing, the market rate housing side of things, and leave the commercial fee as it was. I'm beginning to feel more strongly that it's time for this board to reconsider that commercial side of the equation, especially given the fact that we have continued growth in the commercial sector in places like McClellan Business Park and places like Metro Air Park, which is beginning to see a lot of interest in terms of development and tenant occupation of some of the spec buildings that are expected out there. So it seems to me it would be incumbent on this board and staff to work together, perhaps sooner rather than later, to have this board formally reconsider that. So those are my two comments. Again, I prefaced it the way I did because it's not germane necessarily to the immediate action we're being asked to take today. But if Mr. Leonard or Mr. Gill want to respond to my first concern about the timing of SB2, I'd like to hear a response.
Rob?
Certainly, Supervisor Cerna, we do have active discussion, staff-level discussion going on between county staff from different disciplines and SHRA staff. There's been one meeting, and there were a number of vacations that delayed the second meeting, which is on the calendar. I'm not sure when, but I know it is coming up very quickly, and the purpose of that is to look at, in essence, what the opportunities will be provided with the NOFA, which we understand is going to come out. It was scheduled to come out in September. It has not yet. We don't have any clarity on to when it may come out. What we've seen is that any number of different actions associated with SB2 and other new state funding programs, schedules have been slipping because of essentially the guidelines and policy development going on at the state level. We haven't missed out any opportunities, nor do I believe that we are going to. What we will have as a result of these staff level discussions is a better product that comes forward to the board for consideration.
And the minute we have an idea of what we need approvals, we'll be in front of the board asking for that, like we did with the previous SB2 funding.
Can I make a suggestion? And maybe there's others on this board that want to chime in on this. I'd like to suggest that instead of kind of how we've scheduled what needs to happen before the board considers how we move forward on SB2, that we work backwards from a date. Let's pick a date, regardless of guidelines, regardless of vacations, staff vacations. I'd like us to pick a date, and the date that I'd like to pick is October 8th. So, to me, that's what, 2 weeks away. It seems to me that there's already been some discussion. To me, it also seems not a heavy lift to work out whatever needs to be worked out between our county executive team and SHRA in terms of being prepared, because as soon as that NOFA is available, we should be responding that day. We should at least be getting our ducks in a row that day. So shame on us if we don't get prepared for it, especially in light of the housing crisis that our constituents remind us about on the hour. So that's what I would like to suggest, is that we work backwards from an October 8th date.
Mr. Chair. Okay, we're waiting on just on this issue. Yes, sir. I guess I'm curious, because I know this has come up a couple of different times, and at least in conversation, I think earlier in the year when we were having a planning presentation, I think I may have asked about that time, and obviously we're still waiting for guidance from those who will actually issue the NOFA. But in all honesty, irrespective of what staff work has been done, I don't have a very clear understanding of what opportunities may be currently anticipated, but secondly, what sort of timelines will be driven once regulations are out. And so whether it's an action items or some other construct for October 8th, I think something sooner rather than later to understand, not to have make work, because obviously there's going to be a lot of work goes into this. But if in fact, as I did understand, that there might be a deadline that would, because apparently the state obviously is going to, like they normally do, a lot of bluster about what needs to be done, and then, take time to get things in place, and then, have a very short deadline for responding. And I understood it was in November. If that's not the case, then, maybe we have a little more time. But I think to the relevant point, I believe it would be important, if nothing else, for an information item to come before the board so we know where it stands, obviously working with both county and SHRA staff and anybody else who is a party to this. Because again, to your point, Rob, I don't anticipate we're going to miss any opportunities either, but that would be not a good thing if we did. And so rather than just, kind of leave us all a little bit, I think maybe everybody else has a clear understanding. I don't have a real clear understanding of what needs to be done and what sort of race we're going to be into once the guidelines and the NOFA are issued. And if it came out, we're only in September 24th today, if it came out before the end of the month and they said just due November 2nd, that's a scramble. I mean, this board only meets so often. I assume it will need the application authority maybe vested with Mr. Gill or with Lachelle or whoever, but there needs to be some determination and go ahead, green light from this board. I think that it would be better to have something, as Mr. Cern suggested, to at least have an information item, and then we'll have a clear understanding. If you need some direction, obviously you're going to work it out at the staff level, present something to us. So
I think a couple of things in here. I think at staff level, I think we have an understanding what we need to do. What we're waiting on is what is it coming back to us and what's the proposal we're going to have. That's what we need to work out. So we can endeavor October 8th to bring you something, but it will be pretty light on some of the details behind because we don't know what all the guidelines are. If the board wants to have a discussion about what to apply for SB2, that's what I'm trying to find out. Is that what the interest is for SB2 funding, or is it more how are we going to manage SB2? That's
well, who's going to be the lead? I'd say who's going to be the lead. I think that's a key piece. Who's going to be the lead? And then secondly, I guess what's the range of menu items that we can pick from to apply for? Because I think that. So, but you hit both of them. Yeah, I'd say yes.
So yes. So on the lead question, what we've been looking at, same with SB1, is that the county will take lead with SHRA assisting us, and then that question will come back to the board with a menu of options that you will have. These are different projects you have, board, which one do you want to apply for? And then we'll work with you and SHRA to respond to that.
Isn't it, well, with all due respect, isn't that or shouldn't that be a board decision?
Which component, which project?
Who's taking the lead? I mean, in terms of, offering up as an information item, as Supervisor Natoli has suggested, at a minimum on October 8th, I would like to, if we're going to do that, then maybe it's worth deliberating as a board in terms of who's taking the lead. I mean, I think there's some merit in considering the fact that we have a housing authority where we have a centralized infrastructure management to look at the wide spectrum of everything from tax credits to management of our housing trust funds. And this would be yet another tool in the toolbox. So at least I'd like to have a conversation about the merit of doing it one way or the other.
There's no issue with that. I think what we were thinking about was better coordination. That's one tool set. We have other county departments that participate. So our thought process was that if we can centralize as much to have different disciplines in it, is to have the whole array in front of us, work with the board on what we need to apply for. That was our thought process, and absolutely coming back to the board on what needs to be applied for. We're not going to make that decision because that is something that we need board input on your priorities and where you think the money should flow into different areas that we need, that you have the needs. So we were not that fixated on who's taking the lead. We'll work with everybody. Our concerns more, what are the guidelines, what can we apply for, and how does that meet some of the needs that we have, and then have that discussion with the board members at that point.
Well, I think at the very least, Mr. Gill, you're hearing from at least two-fifths of the board, maybe more, that there's enough interest, there's enough mystery for some of us about kind of what's going on the SB2 front that at the very least I think we should agendize something for October 8th.
Well, absolutely. I think we should bring something back and let's have a discussion about what some of the board priorities are and where would you like to see the funding go to. Yeah. We will do that. And just one caveat, as I mentioned, is that I think we'll need more assistance from the board because we might not have all the details behind it, and some of that information will change as long as the board knows that, and we'll come back to you and say something shifted or didn't, and where should we apply for. So we will absolutely do that.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Frost.
I just remember back in 2017 when I first came on board, this was one of the items that I had some concerns about, that we were not competitive, and I wanted to thank Lachelle and all the staff for looking into this and making sure that we are, and I support it, but I just wanted you to know I really appreciate that you went to all that work to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I can move approval.
Well, we do have one member of the
Oh,
public that would like to speak. Parker Evans.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. My name is Parker Evans. I'm a project manager at Mutual Housing California. We're a nonprofit affordable housing developer celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We have over 1,000 units across 20 properties in Sacramento and Yolo counties. We're very supportive of this update to the lending policies. It will make these projects substantially more competitive, particularly the reduction of the bond monitoring fee, which will help the cash flow for our 100% affordable projects across the county. That additional cash flow will enable us to serve deeper levels of affordability or leverage that cash flow for additional desperately needed capital for these new projects that we underwrite. This change will have an especially large impact on large projects that are over 50, potentially over 100 units. That's a big savings on those projects. And so ultimately, these adjustments to the policy are going to be one step to help us build more units in less time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, and good luck with the recent projects that are cropping up in District 2. We look forward to it. That's the last card I have. Any other comments of the board before we make a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have motion second. I will just comment that I am 3/5 of agreement here, that I look forward to October 8th and shining some light on the situation. And also the urgency. Thank you. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Next item.
Item number 45, the State of Agriculture in Sacramento County based on the 2018 Crop and Livestock Report.
I think it's okay. It's okay. Good morning, Chair Kennedy and members of the board. Chris Flores, Sacramento County Agricultural Commissioner and Sealer. of
Welcome
Weights
and
Measures.
congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm pleased to be here this morning to update you on Sacramento County's agricultural industry and some of our department activities. This presentation is based on the 2018 Crop and Livestock Report, and I want to thank our ag producers for their input through our survey. If they didn't provide the data to us, we wouldn't be able to provide this crop report to you. It's very important. And that data gets distributed around the state and is used for economic purposes. I'd also like to thank two of my staff members, Kevin Martin and Laura McCready, for their work on compiling the data and putting this report together. Without their help, this would not be before you as well. Okay, so do I? No, this. Okay. There we go. Okay. So the theme for our 2018 crop report is our local best, celebrating food production in our region, and I have good news to share. The gross value of ag commodities grown in Sacramento County in 2018, increased by $24 million and exceeded the $500 million mark. So we're at $520 million. It's the largest gross value of ag production in our county ever. Wine grapes, once again, were Sacramento County's top leading ag commodity at over $186 million. Their overall increase in yield and harvested acres helped them reach this level. And we have over 30 different varieties of wine grapes grown in Sacramento County on over 36,000 acres of ag land. Despite continuing challenges by the dairy industry, market milk was our number 2 value ag commodity at $48 million. Statewide in 2018, milk and processed dairy products were valued at over $20 billion. California's dairy industry is the largest supplier of milk and processed dairy products in the United States and accounts for 20% of all U.S. milk production. Sacramento County dairies contribute to this equation.
Chris, if I just could on that too,
Yeah.
and that most of our dairies have not, I think, if not all, they're family-owned dairies.
Correct.
I mean, there are other structures in other states, even in this state, maybe a family, but it's a large corporate structure here for the most part. And we have, in this amount of production comes with probably less than 3 dozen dairies countywide. I don't know what the number
Correct.
is, but it's not a very large number, but
No,
may
and
contribute.
our average dairy has about 300 cows, so it's fairly small compared to. So overall, our fruit and nut crops make up almost half of the county's gross production value. In 2018, fruit and nut crops were valued at over $242 million. Although cherries and pears decreased in value due to smaller yields, almonds, walnuts, and wine grapes exceeded in their production value. Along with crop statistics, the 2018 Crop and Livestock Report highlights other ag-related venues and programs. Every year, on behalf of Sacramento County, the Ag Commissioner's Office participates in the Farm to Fork celebration. Ag Department staff spend time talking to visitors about Sacramento County's ag producers or farmers, the food that they produce, and how our department supports them and protects them through our programs. Attendees that we interact with are clearly interested in our local food system and walk away with a better understanding of what they can do to support and protect our local ag. Once again, we will be supporting the Farm to Fork celebration downtown this Saturday. I'd like to thank you and take this opportunity to thank you for supporting the reestablishment of the Ag Advisory Committee. The committee is an extremely valuable asset to your board, to my office, and to the broader community. The community members represent all facets of agriculture, the UC Extension, and the general public. They provide valuable feedback on agricultural issues, including right to farm issues and pesticide issues. The committee meets every other month at my office off of Bradshaw Road, and the meetings are open to the public. Another way we celebrate our local food production is through our certified farmers markets. Sacramento County is lucky to have 20 to 25 farmers markets every year, with 10 to 15 certified farmers markets at any given time. Ag producers located within the certified section of the market are certified by their origin county ag departments. To become certified, farm site visits are conducted, and the inspectors ensure that the growers are actually growing what they are selling. In Sacramento County, in 2018, our ag inspector certified over 100 local farmers. As part of our 2018 crop report survey, we asked a new question of our growers. We asked them, where do your ag commodities go? So we thought it would be interesting to share some of their answers with you. As you know, microbreweries are an ever-increasingly popular business venture here in California and locally in Sacramento. Since 2005, we've gone from 5 breweries to over 50. Due to the increasing local demand, we are growing hops here in Sacramento County And those farmers are providing those hops to our local breweries and regionally as well.
Growing hops once again. We were once a
Yes.
fairly large, region.
Yeah.
Kind of went down to almost 0 acres. I think we had 3 acres left in the county at one time. And
All of Campus Commons was hops.
Right. I think the first hop acreage was 16 acres. It was south of Broadway here in Sacramento. Yep. Back in 1857, I think. 16,500 acres of alfalfa were harvested in 2018. Some of it sent out of county, but the majority goes to our local dairies for our dairy cows. And as I said, dairy products are, they supply the fresh milk market and also the processed dairy in California and across the United States, and are processed into cheese and ice cream, etc. Our local pear growers, they sell to the fresh market. They also export a lot of pears to Mexico and Canada. They're used in canned and processed products, and they're squeezed for juice and cider. One of our Delta growers, pear cider, is actually being highlighted this year at the Farm to Fork Celebration Tower Bridge Dinner. In 2018, our local safflower growers harvested 4,000 acres of safflower to a gross value of $1.68 million. Our safflowers are pressed for oil. And then lastly, tomatoes. We do sell some tomatoes for the fresh market, but the majority of them go into processing goods.
And all those processing facilities have left this county, though, right?
Yes.
They're now shipped down to the Central Valley.
Yes.
Or to the east, or west, excuse me.
So in order to help protect our local ag industry, our department hires seasonal aides to service and place 11 different types of insect traps in fruit trees and other host plants throughout the county. The traps are designed to attract non-native invasive pests not currently established in California that are injurious to agriculture. In July of 2018, our trappers detected an oriental fruit fly, a pest to over 230 different crops. Shortly thereafter, we found 15 more flies. The presence of these flies triggered a delimitation and the placement of 500 additional insect traps in a 99 square mile area. It also required the application of additional pesticide treatments and established quarantine boundaries to contain the spread of the pest. Due to the diligence of our farmers, ag aides, and staff from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, the oriental fruit fly was eradicated from Sacramento County, and the quarantine was lifted in May of this year. In addition to our pest detection program, our pest exclusion program aims to intercept pests like the oriental fruit fly before they enter the county. Day in and day out, our staff inspect incoming shipments at points of entry to ensure that there are no hitchhiking pests of concern. One of our most effective tools is the use of our detector dogs and their keen sense of smell. These dogs undergo months of training at the USDA facility in Georgia before being matched up with their human partner. They are trained to sniff out any type of plant material, including soil, vegetables, and fruits. They walk the belts at the parcel facilities and pick out unmarked packages that may be carrying unwanted pests. Their human partners are then able to inspect the packages. You might recall that in 2018, your board honored 2 of the best detector dogs in the state upon their retirement, Dozer and Cairo. Pictured on the slide is our newest detector dog, Taz, with his partner, Mariah. Taz has already proven to be a very effective detector dog and was recently certified to work in the U.S. Postal Service facilities. Taz and Mariah will be demonstrating Taz's skills at the Farm to Fork celebration on Saturday.
Cool.
And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the incredible work of our Weights and Measures staff. They work quietly behind the scenes, performing a very important role. Consumers and businesses alike share a confidence in the marketplace with the knowledge that the scales used to weigh their produce or the meters used to dispense their fuel are accurate. Our standards inspectors protect everyone, including the ag industry, from negligent and fraudulent activities. In 2018, our standards inspectors verified the accuracy of over 17,700 weighing and measuring devices in the county and responded to over 100 consumer complaints. Most of the complaints included fuel dispensing inaccuracies, price advertisement inaccuracies, CRV overcharges, and fuel contamination issues.
Excuse me, Chair. So if you get those complaints and you validate them, then what sort of corrective actions are you authorized under your office then to do?
So if they do not meet tolerance, then the company or business has to hire a registered service agent to come out and correct it. And then they notify us that it's been corrected, and we go back out and retest.
And who resolves the consumer complaint? So
we do.
If they got overcharged,
yeah, no, we do. So
you mediate that then, Chris?
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And so that concludes my presentation this morning. I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here today and update you on the ag industry, and I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Are there any other questions? Supervisor Natoli.
Yeah, not so much a question. Certainly thank Chris and her staff for their work on behalf of the entire community, but certainly their interface and very important interface with the agricultural community. And I think it's impressive that in a county, obviously, of 1.5 million people and certainly a 1,000-acre land mass, that we have over 500 million farm gate activity in the year that was presented to us here, the 2018 year. What I wanted to ask about, and I spoke with Mr. Gill about this yesterday in my briefing, that some time ago, I know I'd asked many years ago about the opportunity that we as a county, because we operate a number of institutions and facilities, and I think with the significant growth in the farm to fork movement, but also with our fresh growers, recognizing that a number of the products are seasonal, but nonetheless, I would venture a guess of how many millions of dollars we spend a year on food, and other items for people who are in county facilities, being in institutions. And I guess what I'd like to maybe have us take a look at, Nav, working with certainly Ag Commissioner or General Services, is there a way to buy direct from local growers? And again, it may be seasonal, but I think as we talk about conditions in some of the facilities, and we heard about that this morning in a different light, but it would seem to me that good, healthy food fare is good for body, mind, and soul. And the ability for us, again, is because some of the marketing obviously is for products that are shipped overseas and they have a longer shelf life and so forth, or a shorter shelf life. I'd like to see us really take a look at it to, and if it isn't in county, certainly within the region, maybe do that already, but I'm just not familiar enough, and again, haven't really posed a question in recent years. And so I'd like us to really take a serious look at how we might buy local, farm direct. So.
No, we'll love to look into that.
Okay, great, thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Chris, thank you, not only as Supervisor Natoli said, for the great work you guys do. Unfortunately, you were called upon to do too much in District 2 last year, but I appreciate all the efforts.
Yeah.
But also, every year I enjoy getting these. I mean, they're a fun read, actually, and so thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is our last timed item of the morning, so we will go to those items off agenda. And I'm not sure, is there anyone from SEIU in the audience?
He knew the answer to that question.
I do have two cards, two speaker slips. We're going to, being as you are our county partners and what you have to say is valuable to all of us, we're going to allot 15 minutes to be used at your how you see fit. I've spoken with your leadership, and I would expect that they will be prepared to work with it, and we agreed that those parameters were fine. So with that, I will ask the clerk to set the clock at 15 minutes. Keep in mind, you don't have to take the entire 15 minutes, but I'll call Tammy Ostrowski up.
Okay. Honorable Board of Supervisors, my name is Tammy Ostrowski. I am the SEIU Local 10-to-1 President of the Sacramento County Supervisor Chapter and Program Specialist in Child Protective Services. We come before you today because our contract expired on June 30th, and despite beginning negotiations in January, we are at pre-impasse 9 months later. The county has held fast to their initial position despite our best efforts to offer reasonable counter-offers. We respectfully request the Board of Supervisors intervene to conclude negotiations swiftly and fairly. I will now take a few moments to summarize why supervisors and program specialists are vital members of a team that serves the people of Sacramento County. Go ahead. You're about to receive something, a gift from us. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. Before you is a model of a NASA space capsule. The capsule carried highly trained astronauts on a dangerous and challenging mission to land on the moon and safely return home. To merely state that we would go to the moon was not enough for success. The mission could not have been accomplished without the capable and dedicated members of Mission Control who provided monitoring and support when things were going as planned, and guidance, troubleshooting, and reassurance when problems threaten the mission and human life. The Departments of Human Assistance and Child, Family, and Adult Services are tasked with a mission no less challenging than the mission conceived to go to the moon. We are committed to serve children and adults to promote safety, self-sufficiency, and independence. We are committed to providing public benefits, employment assistance, and supportive services to promote self-sufficiency and independence. We strive to achieve the well-being of children in our community by protecting children, strengthening families, providing permanent homes, and building community partnerships. We promote, protect, and preserve the dignity of all seniors and dependent individuals so they live with respect in caring, healthy, and safe environments. To achieve these goals, we, the supervisors and program specialists of SEIU, are in essence mission control. We are the bridge between mandate and action. We provide staff with the necessary training, guidance, and support to carry out the mission of delivering critical services to members of our community. We utilize the principles of safety organized practice and core practice model when supervising and working with our staff, and in turn assist them with employing the same principles in their work with clients. It includes promoting teamwork, forming and strengthening partnerships, and building upon strengths based on underlying needs. These skills are necessary for problem solving, assessment, and effective service delivery to most effectively provide for the safety and security of children that are victims of child abuse, including those who are commercially sexually exploited. We train, guide, and direct our staff so that they can help our clients overcome barriers that are impeding their ability to live independent, fulfilling lives with safety and dignity. Often we roll up our sleeves and work side by side with staff or work directly with clients. Here are just a few examples of how we do whatever it takes to support staff and the overall mission. A foster care eligibility supervisors, they go the extra mile to troubleshoot foster care payments to support our staff, caregivers, and the needs of our children. A human assistance program specialist assisted a client with a severe mental problem and was scheduled for sight-saving eye treatments and surgery the next day by avoiding a break in aid due to inter-county transfer difficulties. An informal supervision supervisor drove a parent to the hospital who has experienced a psychiatric crisis for a 5150 evaluation. DHA supervisors employ patience, compassion, and creativity in teaming with their social workers to assist customers seeking public assistance that suffer severe behavioral health conditions, homelessness, and illiteracy. An adult protective services family service supervisor went above and beyond to assist her staff by delivering emergency food bags to clients in need. Emergency response supervisors, after after a full day, remain directly available as late as necessary to their social workers in the field investigating immediate response allegations of child abuse to provide support and ensure they arrive home safely from the field. DHA supervisors in the Family Stabilization Program ensure customers in the lobby are seen, payments and motel vouchers issued, and data entered into the computer in an effort to assist their social workers during extended periods of increased volume of work. CPS supervisors go out with their social workers during and after hours to assist with bringing children into protective custody. CPS supervisors write court reports and visit children and families to assist social workers when they are stretched to their limits or on leave and no one is available to volunteer for assistance. The paralegal supervisor steps in to help her busy staff serve legal papers, run legal documents to court, process runaway warrants, be the gatekeeper for records requests, and meet and help clients who have been hostile and threatening to her staff. Finally, a program specialist facilitates team meetings to discuss coordination of services and address safety concerns for commercially sexually exploited children. Whatever the myriad of roles our staff play in the delivery of services to our community, our supervisors and program specialists are there to train them, guide them, and support them all along the way. In closing, the Apollo astronauts could not have completed their mission alone. Mission control was as critical to the success of the goal to safely journey to the moon and back as the astronauts in the capsule. We are mission control. We, the program specialists and supervisors, serve the most vulnerable members of Sacramento County with compassion and dignity. We strive to guide practice, service delivery, and decision-making so that our staff may be more effective in their roles working with the community. Today, we stand united in the fight for a fair and equitable contract. We demand that our critical role be recognized and that we are treated with respect. We expect negotiations for our contract to be held in good faith and concluded swiftly. We want a contract where the county demonstrates loud and clear, SEIU, mission control, we need you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next card I have is Bev Becker.
She's actually going to be next, if that's okay.
It's your 15 minutes.
So my name is Mercedes Riggleman. I am the secretary for SEIU chapter 10 to 1 in Sacramento County. I've met with some of you before, and it's really hard to follow Tammy's speech, but I get the luxury of talking about the money and the finances part. And so most of what is hinging on our contract is we are one of the few chapters that still has the 10% spread language in our contract, where the county shall maintain a 10% spread between the supervisors and their highest paid subordinates. And through the negotiations, the county has come back repeatedly asking to change that word to endeavor, which was explained to us as we then had to negotiate the 10% spread, that they would not consider it until it was maybe 4%, 5%, or lower. To us, that's unacceptable, especially when the 10% spread for a majority of us is really not 10%. It's more like 5%. And for some of us, it's a reverse 10%. So using the master's level supervisors as the kind of the base for the explanation, our highest paid subordinates, if you work in CPS, actually make 5% less than us because they get a differential that we do not receive. So we don't even have a 10% spread. So if the 10% spread goes away and changes to endeavor, our workers will thus be making the exact same amount of us as us before the county even decides to look at it. And that's unacceptable, that the workers should make more than their supervisors. Additionally, there was, our last contract, a change in the pay for the program specialists, where the supervisors, they've always been tied to the, not tied, but they've always been parallel with the master's level supervisors, and now they're making less than us. So just imagine going to your doctor, your family doctor, and being referred to a heart surgeon, and that heart surgeon getting paid what the phlebotomist is getting paid. That's how our system currently works. So if you have a family doctor, they refer you to a specialist who should be specialized in their care, and you're gonna get the basic care of a phlebotomist. Not that there's anything wrong with being a phlebotomist, but they're not heart surgeons. right? They're not. They don't have the education or the level, and they haven't gone through all that training and everything. They are not the experts on hearts. They're experts at drawing blood. They're different. And for somebody to have to come in who's been on the job for 4 years and make more than our specialists, so our people that have been there make now more than our program specialists, where we go to for assistance, guidance, help, that help guide us, is kind of absurd, especially when we're dealing with everything that Tammy already laid out for you. So that's one thing we would like to address and make sure that is addressed in our contract, and that be corrected as we were promised on our last contract negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you. Bev Becker.
Good morning. I'm Bev Becker, and I'm the vice president, and I couldn't even keep up with Tammy. I could just say ditto to everything she said. But I'm here to represent all of the members of SEIU, the program specialists, and supervisors. And what we were hired for was to be a trusted servant to the citizens of Sacramento County. That's it. That's what we do, and we do a great job of it. The sad thing about it is, in this negotiation, is that we feel very unappreciated for what we do. We don't feel like anything that we do makes a difference. We write policies, we write workflows, we write procedures, and we absolutely run the buildings when the program managers are not in the buildings. And we do it with dignity and integrity. And to go through a negotiation when we don't feel appreciated for doing the job that we're doing, it's real frustrating. And as Mercedes talked about that 10%, I mean, I've been here for 33 years. Stuff has gone downhill from there. But in this bargaining unit, that's our one last thing, 10% spread. And Mercedes talked about it in relation to a master's degree supervisor. Well, the same as over in both departments. We can't even get people to apply to be supervisors any longer. Why do it? You know, you make the same amount of money now without the responsibilities. So all I would like to ask is that we could feel more like we're bargaining in good faith, which right now it doesn't feel like that. We've been in bargaining for 9 months with no movement. Just seems like each of the proposals that are passed over are just copied and pasted from the last one to the next one, with maybe one little difference. And in my opinion, after being on 4 bargaining teams, that's not movement. Whereas SEIU has taken a lot of time to put proposals together to represent a real diversified amount of members. We have a lot of different classifications, which isn't easy to do, but we do the best job we can. In closing, I never would have thought that our contract was going to come down to one word, and that is changing from shall to endeavor. And that's really, in my eyes, what's happening with this. I just would really hope that you could assist us in talking to the right people about getting this negotiating over with a good, fair contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I wasn't aware that I needed to fill out a card. I was told I didn't have to, so I hope I can have this next 44 seconds.
You got 43 seconds.
Okay. I'm Sandra Mattingly. I'm with DC FAST, Senior Volunteer Services, and I'm here to talk about going above and beyond for all these folks behind me by putting my personal stamp on it. We had a foster grandparent volunteer who was precariously housed. And we had to go by and pick up a paper for her, and when we pulled up, the place where she was living had weeds thigh high. She was living in these folks' garage, sleeping on their couch. I was not paid, instructed, even asked to do this, but I went home and put it on my own Nextdoor account. Could we possibly find a room for this lady to rent within her means? I had several people step up, but the one lady that did step up said that she had room, and these two have become fast friends. She has her own television, her own restroom, kitchen privileges. The lady even lets her drive her vehicle when she goes out of town. Another foster grandparent volunteer, I'm with Sacramento County Senior Volunteer Services Foster Grandparent, Senior Companion, and RSVP programs. But another foster grandparent volunteer.
Can you wrap up? We're over.
Yes. One of them was asked to please wear undergarments, wear a bra to her site. She had lost so much weight, she couldn't afford one. I took her to the store, bought them out of my pocket. The lady in her 60-plus years had never been to a drive-through window. I bought her food through the drive-through window at Chick-fil-A. Life is experiences, and I'd like to feel like I'm helping provide experiences to help our volunteers live full lives, just as everyone behind me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you all for two things. One, for being here. Three things, actually. One, for being here. One, for doing what you do in the county. And three, for the respectful way that you presented today. It's much appreciated. I will say I understand that there are ongoing negotiations, and I think that I can speak on behalf of the entire board to say that at the conclusion of those negotiations, we are extremely hopeful that the message will be, Houston, we do not have a problem. Thank you. With that, I believe our morning session is come to an end, and we will recess to closed session. Thank you.
I'm going to be disappointed if we didn't have a NASA reference.
Yeah, good quip.